You might think she wants flowers, but in reality, she wants fire. She's not asking you if you're strong, she's provoking it. Not with some big speech, but with silence. With the way she suddenly pulls back her warmth. With the way her eyes, once oceans, now feel like mirrors, flat, cold, and reflecting everything back at you. This isn't rejection, it's initiation. And if you think it's just about her moods, you've already failed the trial. Most men never even see it for what it is. They mistake it for random confusion. They start apologizing for air they didn't breathe, begging for affection they haven't earned, drowning in emotions that don't even belong to them. They regress, they shrink, they become boys again. And that, right there, is the end. Because she was never testing how nice you are, she was testing your spine. Carl Jung understood this long before hashtags like alpha existed, before masculinity became a crime scene in culture wars. He knew that at the level of myth, women don't ask a man to be a man, they summon it. Not through instructions, but through contradiction, through complexity, through chaos. Because it's only through the mirror of the anima, the inner feminine inside every man, that his wholeness can be revealed or destroyed. So when she grows distant for no reason, when her tone suddenly turns sharp, when she smiles at you like she knows something you don't, she does. She's pressing against your reality, looking for cracks. And she's watching, not to see if you fight back, but to see if you vanish. You don't pass this test with clever words or airtight logic. You pass it by not flinching, by standing in the presence of the riddle she's become, without trying to solve it. Because she's not a puzzle, she's a force. And if you need her to make sense before you can stand your ground, you're not her equal. You're just an accountant of emotion, keeping score in a game you don't even know the rules to.
Jung warned us, a man's greatest danger lies in becoming possessed by the unconscious, by forces he can't name, but that move him anyway. And no figure possesses him more than the unintegrated feminine, the emotional chaos he's outsourced to women because he never learned to hold it himself. That's why you obsess over her approval. That's why you panic when she pulls away. That's why her moods feel like life or death signals to your nervous system. It's not about her, it's about you. You've never faced the woman inside you, so you keep projecting her onto every woman you meet, hoping they'll give you what you won't give yourself. And here's the word, containment. Not control, not suppression, containment. The divine masculine doesn't kill chaos, it holds it, without flinching, without fixing, without fleeing. And when a woman tests you, she's asking, without words, if you are that kind of man. Not with her questions, but with her energy. And if you're not, she'll devour you without even realizing why. Because feminine energy is not polite, it's not reasonable, it's not manageable, it's wild. And in Jungian terms, it's initiatory. It pulls you into the underworld, not to destroy you, but to burn off everything in you that's pretending.
So when she challenges you, when she doubts, withdraws, or throws you into emotional weather, don't respond like a child who thinks he's been abandoned. Respond like a sovereign. With a presence so grounded, she feels safe enough to finally rest, not because you made her happy, but because you stayed steady when every boy before you broke. Don't chase her love, anchor your own. Because if you don't become the fire, you'll spend your life begging to be warmed. And that, brother, is the most humiliating death of all. It starts subtly. You don't even notice it at first. She just asks why you didn't call, why you don't talk like you used to, why you seem distracted lately. She's not really looking for your answers. She's watching your posture. Do you shrink? Do you panic? Do you turn into a man who suddenly believes he's guilty just because her tone changed? That's the test. And it's not emotional manipulation, it's biological intelligence. Jung called it the process of individuation, the lifelong work of becoming whole. And for every man, part of that journey is the confrontation with the feminine, not as fantasy, but as force, not as reward, but as reckoning. Because the woman in front of you is never just herself. She's the living projection of the woman inside your psyche, the anima, that shifting image of the feminine that haunts every dream, every longing, every heartbreak. She doesn't care about your excuses, not your work stress, not your childhood wounds, not your 5-point plan for better communication. She cares about one thing. Can you be unmoved when everything around you demands movement? If you can't, you're not strong. You're just adaptable. And there's nothing more dangerous for a man than confusing adaptability with power. A man who adapts to every mood, every sigh, every tear, he becomes elastic, stretchable, forgettable. He doesn't fail loudly, he dissolves quietly until the day she looks at him and doesn't feel him anymore. Not because he left, but because he disappeared into her. Jung warned, men who fail to integrate the feminine become possessed by it. And possession doesn't mean levitating in an exorcism. It means obsession. It means you start orbiting her moods instead of living by your mission. Her smile becomes your sun. Her disappointment becomes your tomb. You become, as Jung described, split in two, publicly postured, privately panicked. You nod on cue. You say all the right things, but your eyes give you away. They twitch with the quiet desperation for affirmation. You fear her pulling away more than you fear betraying yourself. And that's when the test turns into your ruin. Because she was never asking for perfection. She was asking something much simpler, much harder. Do you belong to yourself? Can you hold your truth when it costs you her approval? Can you tell her no without trembling? Can you love her deeply without losing the ground beneath your feet? The anima in its immature form is seductive. It whispers, peace is infusion. Just merge with her, agree with her, follow her emotional tides, and everything will be fine. But that's not peace, that's erasure. That's the myth of the nice guy who thinks love is built on his own disappearance. True peace comes when a man becomes vertical, when his backbone is non-negotiable, when his love is real, but his center is non-transferable. And that's when she feels it, that rare ancient thing, the gravitational presence of a man who no longer reacts to chaos, but contains it. The tests stop, not because she's done, but because she sees you can't be moved by storms. Not because you're numb, but because you know your own weather. You don't fear her heat because you've made peace with your own fire. You don't flinch at her doubts because you've answered your own. She stops testing because she finally sees something rarer than perfection. She sees truth. And when she sees that truth, she'll do one of two things. She'll rise to meet it, or she'll leave, not out of hate, but out of awe. Because this fire you carry, it doesn't burn indiscriminately. It consumes only what's false. So when she tests you, when she retreats, when she makes you question yourself, she's not trying to ruin the relationship. She's trying to excavate the real you, buried under the version that's been nodding and performing since you decided being liked was safer than being respected. Jung called that false self the persona, the mask we wear for the world. And women are biologically allergic to it. They might play along for a while, but eventually instinct takes over. She presses against it like a finger on glass to see if it cracks or holds.
The feminine doesn't respect facades. It respects wholeness. And wholeness means your ability to hold both your light and your darkness, your desire and your discipline, your tenderness and your teeth.
Most men only show one half. They play the gentleman but repress the wild. Or they play the alpha and hide their wounds. Both are lies, and the feminine knows it. This is why she tests you, not to push you away, but to see if you've integrated enough to be trusted, not just with her safety, but with her psyche. Because the unconscious feminine doesn't want a servant, it wants a mirror. It wants to see the kind of presence that doesn't vanish when love gets hard, unpredictable, or wild. She's not looking for your money, not your captions, not even your protection in the traditional sense. She's looking for one thing. Can you remain unchanged by the parts of her that scare even her? Can you hold her tears without trying to fix them? Can you face her rage without becoming a little boy again? Can you love her darkness without making it your job to save her from it? That is strength. Not dominance, not stoicism, not the size of your voice or your bank account. Strength is the ability to remain centered in hell.
So when a woman tests you, she's sending a signal, a flare in the dark. She's asking, are you that kind of man? Or are you still hiding behind roles, routines, and rehearsed lines? Jung would tell you, don't run, don't react, don't try to manipulate the test into ending early. The test ends when you stop trying to pass it and start simply being. Because here's the truth, she can only test what's unresolved in you. If you're grounded, there's nothing to shake. If you're clear, there's nothing to question. If you're true, there's nothing to prove. The men who fail are the ones who try to impress instead of express, who treat her moods like landmines instead of sacred signals, who mistake her storm for a threat when it was actually an invitation to initiation. And here's the irony. The moment you no longer need to pass the test, you've passed it. She doesn't want a god. She wants a man who's made peace with his own mortality. Most men think passing the test means flawless composure, but Jung would have laughed, because perfection is the refuge of cowards. It's what men chase when they're terrified of being seen. The tests women initiate aren't to crown you, they're to strip you. Strip the act, the script, the well-groomed persona you thought would earn devotion. She doesn't want your representative, she wants your essence. And essence has weight, it has gravity.
You can't fake essence with texts, trips, or trauma bonding. It's revealed in how you carry yourself when things are unclear. It's in how you don't collapse when she withholds affection. It's in how you let silence speak louder than explanations. That's when she truly sees you. And here's the paradox. The stronger you are, the less you react. Not because you're emotionally dead, but because you're internally sovereign. You're no longer a man trying to pass a test. You are the test. When that shift happens, when your identity no longer hinges on her praise, something ancient in her softens, not because you've conquered her, but because she's finally standing in front of something she doesn't have to carry. Most men are unconsciously asking women to mother them, to soothe their fears, affirm their worth, and hold their insecurities. But that's not love. That's spiritual dependency dressed up as romance. And that's why she tests you, not to hurt you, but to wake you up from the unconscious need to be nurtured into manhood. That's not her job. That was always yours. Jung's warning cuts deep here.
A man who refuses to integrate his unconscious will project it. He'll turn the woman into his salvation, his enemy, his judge, his therapist, his mother, all because he doesn't know who he is without her eyes reflecting him back to himself. If you're that man, unconscious, unresolved, reactive, every test will feel like betrayal. You'll call her unstable, manipulative. You'll say she's playing games. But the truth is, your psyche is collapsing under the weight of its own undeveloped masculinity. The true man is not afraid of being tested. He welcomes it, not because he loves drama, but because he knows real love is forged in fire, not comfort. Every test is a sharpening, a crucible, a confrontation with the question, are you a man or just a boy wearing his father's coat, hoping she won't look too closely?
Are you a man or just a boy wearing his father's coat, hoping she won't look too closely? And when you stop fearing her tests, something profound happens. You stop even seeing them as tests. You're not trying to win anymore. You're just being, fully, freely, unshakably. And that, not dominance, not compliance, but performance, is the man she cannot forget. If you've ever wondered why she pulled away just when things felt perfect, why her warmth vanished after you gave her everything, this is why. It wasn't sabotage. It was the ancient ritual of revelation. She wasn't rejecting your love. She was exposing its structure. Was it rooted in self or built on sand? Men who are still asleep blame women for their confusion. They call her tests cruel. They say women play games. But here's the truth. An untested man is an unfinished man. And the feminine does not commit to unfinished things. She might date them. She might play along for a season. But her soul, the deep part of her that hungers for union, only opens to what is complete. So she tests, not to watch you fall, but to know, will you remain you, even when she no longer holds up your ego? Because if the only version of you that exists is the one she validates, you're a ghost. Jung taught that a man's final task is integration. To gather all his parts, rage, fear, lust, grief, brilliance, doubt, and fuse them into one indivisible force. Only from that center does a man become someone she can trust, not because he promises forever, but because even in her storm, he doesn't break. He stays, not just physically, but psychically, energetically, existentially. Most men have two gears, chase or withdraw. When tested, they either plead, over-explain, and smother, or they turn cold, passive-aggressive, and disappear. Both are symptoms of the same wound. They still need her belief in them because they haven't yet believed in themselves. But a man who has walked through his own hell and met his own monsters no longer fears hers. He sees the fire in her eyes and doesn't tremble, not because he's careless, but because he's conscious. He no longer loves with desperation, but with discernment. He understands something few men are ever taught. The test was never about her. It was always about him. And when a man passes it, not by pleasing, not by performing, but by remaining, her chaos transforms into calm. Not because he silenced her, but because she found in him what she couldn't find anywhere else. A place where her soul could rest without collapsing his. That man doesn't chase, doesn't compete, doesn't justify. He simply is. And in a world drowning in noise, uncertainty, and masks, that kind of man isn't just rare, he's revolutionary. So remember,
Her test is not a threat, it's a gift. It's the doorway you walk through, not into her approval, but into your initiation. Become that man, and everything changes.